Anthony told me he's got a doozy, so tell me your horror story.
Yeah, as soon as I read the email, I was like, I know exactly what to talk about. So, I was kind of in the middle of the summer, had a little bit of a dry spell. I was okay with that though, because, you know, I have 5 boys and they're on summer vacation. So having a little bit of a slowdown was pretty good. And then the next week I got a call from a lady whose daughter, her birthday was coming up the following Monday. And she called me on like a Wednesday. She's like, I have this guitar and I would like to have some initials and then a date to correspond with these initials engraved into a Fender acoustic guitar. I was like, I've never really messed around with any kind of instruments before, but you know, you learn by doing. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. She dropped it off on Friday and I was like, we're really kind of cutting it close here, but I had a plan in my head. She wanted like the initials done in like this really cool teal color, and so I went shopping, got the right spray paint, and just kind of as a precaution, I grabbed some acrylic paint too. So we get to the shop and I tape off this guitar and I get it put on the UV bed because the UV was probably, instead of trying to fit a guitar inside the CO2, I was like, I'll use the UV because the UV is great with wood. I lay this thing down, get it centered, get it leveled, and like everything's going real good and I'm feeling great. I get it taped off and I'm a little bit nervous because the wood, I'm not sure if you've ever done like a guitar or you're familiar with them at all.
Yeah, it's super dry, super thin.
It's very thin. And yeah. I was like, man, this is like you get a little too eager and all of a sudden you're just looking through the guitar. So I was very cautious, trying to make sure I got just the right depth. You know, all I wanted to do was get through like that top veneer. And then as soon as I saw ply, I was like, I'm going to kill it. I'm done. So I got it done just right and then got the engraving nailed. And it was very even, very smooth. Everything was looking great. I sent the lady a picture and she's like, that looks fantastic. I was like, all right, I'm going to get it in paint. So I taped around the whole thing. I put like t-shirts and trash bags around this guitar, got it all taped off and sealed so there was not going to be any overspray issues. It was perfect. I sprayed it, let it dry, hit it with another coat, sent her a picture. I was like, what do you think? She's like, it's gorgeous. Let's just, you know, get this done. I was like, all right, perfect. And this whole time I'm like very cautiously optimistic. I'm like, this is really going great, but at any point it could go south. And so I let it cure overnight, go to the shop the next day, and it's got a little bit of like texture to the paint. I was like, I'm going to just give it a little bit of a sand and knock down some of that texture so when I throw clear on it, it'll look better. So I'm just giving it a very light sand with like 800 grit sandpaper, just going real soft, and it looks great. And I wipe it down. Looks perfect. So I'm like, I'm going to hit it with some isopropyl alcohol, let it dry, and I'll shoot the clear. That's where things took a turn. Apparently something about spray paint and isopropyl alcohol really didn't mix. And I don't know, are you familiar with like automotive paint at all or any terms like that? There's this thing called fisheye. When they're spraying automotive paint, if there's like impurities in the air, and silicone is like a huge thing. If you get silicone in a body shop, it can cause serious issues because when you spray the paint, it like gets inverse of bubbles. So they're like divots, but they look like little fish eyes. And so this can be a huge problem in the automotive field because you're multi-$1,000 paint jobs. And as soon as I hit the clear on that spray paint, it just fisheye. And you could like see the wood underneath and had all these bubbles and stuff in it. And it just... I don't know what happened. I think it was the IPA that I used. Something, it must have like reacted with it somehow. So I was just devastated. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I have no idea. So I text the lady, I'm like, hey, we had a little setback. I'm going to get this figured out. And this is Saturday, and she needs it by Monday. So I basically just kind of called it quits at that point. And I was like, I'm going to take the rest of the night and just kind of think through this. The best resolution I could come to without making a gigantic sticky paint mess on this lady's guitar was to break one of the laser engraving cardinal sins and put this thing back on the machine. I love the response. I love the response. Yeah, that's about exactly how it turned out. So I get this back on the UV bed, I use the red light that's pretty well dialed in. I get it leveled, I get it focused, everything's backing in, and I'm having to use the laser to remove this disgusting mess of paint and go just a hair deeper into the wood. And I managed to get it like 97% lined up, and it doesn't look terrible. And I spend probably 3 hours trying to like just perfectly get this paint back off of the guitar and get that engraving clean so that I could use the acrylic paint that I had bought in the tube to fill back in with the paint so it looked essentially like she had wanted it. But yeah, as you know good and well, I'm sure it's never going to be perfect when you have to put something back on the machine. And I got it, like I said, about maybe like 97%. There was a little bit of a misalignment in one spot. I managed to get the paint filled, sanded back down, and then this time I didn't use any isopropyl alcohol to wipe it down. I did end up shooting with clear, and I had to spend a bunch of time sanding some different small spots and stuff and getting like the texture and the coat and everything back to where it was. And I've never felt so bad handing something back to somebody because I know like it didn't look great, but I had this time constraint, and I spent basically from 9 a.m. Saturday until like midnight, or on Sunday rather, 9 a.m. Sunday till like midnight, trying to get this guitar dialed back in.
You did.
And it took like numerous coats of this acrylic, hand painting it in, trying to get around all the edges and lightly sanding off stuff that got over, and it was just like a nightmare. And I was like, look, I did the best I could with the time that I had and the materials, and I ended up not even charging the lady. I was like, I'm sorry. I feel bad. Like, she was ready to like Venmo me the money right then and there. And I just, like, my gut told me, I was just like, I can't do it. I'm sorry. Like, just keep your money. Tell your daughter I said happy birthday. And if you can ever pry it out of her hands and bring it back to me, I'll finish like touching up some of the stuff that needed to be done because I ran out of time. But that's just like what it was. But I couldn't in good conscience do it. And it was probably, I don't think I'll ever do an instrument ever again because I was just so nerve-wracking and such a terrible experience. Metal instruments, sure, but not wood.
Yeah. Wow, man, that is a great story. that is a great story. That I can, as you were telling the story, because I've been there myself with other jobs, not that exact job, but I've been in that situation before, where they have no idea what goes on in our brain when we make a mistake like that. And like, some high level mistake where we're just like, oh, it's Friday. Well, I know what I'm doing Friday night, Saturday, Sunday night, Monday, running around to different stores, looking online, trying to find solutions, how to fix what you did. Dude, what a great story. So I have to ask, besides not ever doing guitars again, which I'm sure maybe down the road, after you keep doing this for many years, you might change your mind. What did you learn, honestly, from this besides don't do guitars?
I mean, I'd like to say that I learned to say no in certain situations, but I'm not going to guarantee I've learned that lesson. I mean, it sounds great, but I know probably somewhere down the road, I'm such a sap for a sob story. Like, that's just how I am. I've got this big, stupid heart that doesn't know when to say no, but, yeah, the rush stuff, I'll probably have to put a kibosh on, though. So if somebody comes to me on a Wednesday or a Friday and they're like, I need this by Monday, I might just have to be like, I am sorry. I'd love to. Dude. But...
And especially like when you're just like starting off in the beginning, it's harder to say no because you're trying to grow your business, and you really want to get your name out there. You want to get the experience. You want to, I've definitely said yes to some things I should have said no to before. And I didn't ruin them. It's just, sometimes just saying no is like I might have sacrificed other things that I should have been doing instead of just saying, you know what, my workload is full right now. That's what we want, right? We want to be able to have the luxury to say no when we need to. But dude, what a great story, man.